Welcome to Being Human with Algorithms today with Emmanuel Bricard, CIO of e.l.m. Leblanc.
Perfect.
Emmanuel, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, okay, with pleasure, Mark. So my name is Emmanuel Bricard, and I'm Chief Information Officer at e.l.m. Leblanc. So basically, I'm a father with HoloLens. I have two kids, a boy, a girl, and I love science fiction and all the new technologies. What is great is that all I was reading when I was a child in books is now coming. If you look at AI, if you look at robots, my Roomba at home or whatever, if you look at all the things that comes today that are connected, like having an Alexa at home, this is coming, and this is just the beginning. So what I was reading is now going live into the real world, and we as IT people have like Spider-Man, huge powers to change the world, and then of course huge responsibilities to have an important role in that. So I really love to be at a place where I have an impact.
Wonderful, very good. So
I don't know,
we are right into the topic. So digital transformation. So you started already saying that today the things from your childhood, which were science fiction, are becoming true.
Yeah.
This is also what I perceive. So how would you say what is the most obvious thing today that we have this digital transformation? So how does it strike you? How do you see where is the most important thing that happens that shows you that this digital transformation is happening for you?
So, and this is why I love science fiction too much. Digital transformation is shaping the world, and especially the jobs that we have. So it is the life that we have, all of us, and it creates new opportunities, but at the same time, it's completely changing the technology because never before in human history you had so many technologies that are evolving at the same time in parallel on all levels. And so you have so many jobs that will change, that will evolve during all your career. If you start to work today, you'll need to learn new things all the time. And I believe maybe that jobs where you learn everything at school and then you do the same thing basically more or less during your whole life is over. So we are going into a world where we need to train ourselves all the time. I like it because for me, if you learn new things, you grow, and I believe even when you're old, you can grow. I like the idea of learning all the time, but at the same time, these changes will be hard for those who are not used to learn all the time. And I think this is where the society should change to support all this, because a lot of jobs will disappear. Let's think about autonomous cars, trucks, something like that. What those people will do, what will be their sense in life tomorrow if their job doesn't exist, and if they did it for decades, how to help them to change. This is the biggest impact. Huge opportunities, and at the same time, this important new role of human organization to support every one of us in these changes.
And would you say that the working hours will be going down? So will we all work less and have more time for other things because we have automation? Or would you say that it's rather there are some people that are working the same they do now and there are others that will not have a job at all?
So I really believe that we need to share value creation completely different than now, because if you have only big companies, let's say the big Google of tomorrow, Chinese, Indians or whatever Googles of the future, that own the same services that we use worldwide, all humanity, then of course you'll have few jobs available for the rest of us. And then you have really this idea that you need a sense in life. Humanity, the difference between us and animals is that we are aware of what we are doing and we are looking for a role in our daily life. Well, how to get a sense if we do not have work? If you do not have work, it may not work. And we may be completely uncomfortable with that. And of course, if you have less work, then you need to rearrange this, rebalance this, which means probably, yes, work probably less than today, which is quite interesting because, for example, I would like to have more time with my children. So it's opportunities.
So this I also agree. I also think that it can be a good thing, and we as a society have to adapt to it so that we are used to it, and people do not start wasting the time by starting drinking or whatever in that time, but use the time for something. And another aspect that you just mentioned was like the global aspect. Do you think that the digital transformation will connect nations, countries better, so that it will make borders vanish even more? Because the internet, of course, did that, so we are more connected. But the thing you were describing is even more, so that the people see a common ground, where we also have this environmental development in Germany, very strong at the moment with the Fridays of the Future, where the people are like, okay, we have to protect the planet, we only have one shared planet. So do you think that this thing having nations and countries will vanish more? And I'm especially thinking not necessarily about Europe, because there we have it already a little bit, but also regarding India, China, America. What's your opinion on that?
So it's a very interesting topic, because of course we are facing the environmental change, the biggest challenge in human history, and right now we are not coordinating as we should do on that. And the good point, I'm an optimistic guy, but the good point is that the new generation understands themselves better worldwide than at any moment of human history again. Because the kids from Brazil, from Paris, from Japan, a lot of them are looking the same TV shows, looking the same content worldwide. So I like the idea, because if you understand better others, then you won't fight, you won't have war. And of course, this is we are in. Of course, there's some horrible conflict in the world, in Syria and so on. But if you look, if you take a step back and look at the global picture, there's less conflict right now on Earth than at any time in the past, which is great, of course. And I think it will even improve with time, because people will grow with more common ground as with the others. So this is great. And then, of course, if you are the same, share the same values, then some people that are in the other side of the planet, then of course it's easier for you to discuss, to create things together, and then to have a common plan to, of course, protect our species and the world. So this means huge political changes ahead. And I don't know what is the good answer, but I think things will come. Change will be dramatically important. We'll have to. So it's an opportunity. At the same time, on this balance, it's sometimes also this diversity of human beings. If you go in India, in Japan, or in Africa, or South America, there's so many different cultures, which makes humanity rich of so many wonderful things. And maybe this will decrease a little bit going forward to a global, worldwide culture. And this is the side of things I like a little bit less.
So so I think one of the challenges at the moment is that you have societies, especially in the West, in Europe, that were developing over the centuries and going through phases of the Renaissance and others, where they were evolving as society towards what we have now as society, and in other parts of the world these developments did not happen in that way. And I think this is the biggest challenge, that so I think in Europe many people at the moment are like, okay, we are one globe, we are one people on this planet, we should also take care a little bit of the others, while in other parts of the world the people are still like survival of the fittest, in the sense, if I can take something, then I will take it, because otherwise someone else will take it. So do you also have this perception, or rather not?
Yeah, so of course. I spent 9.5 years in Africa. So when I was a child, I left France when I was 6, and so I experiment directly this barrier between the West world in Europe, where we live with an incredible high level of education, health, happiness. A lot of great things, and of course we waste also a lot of things because we don't even understand the chance that we have if you do not travel a little bit. So we have this in Europe, which is incredible, and at the same time in Africa you will have 2 billion people who do not have such chance just because they are not born in the right place. So of course some of them are very happy, some of them are very rich, but they also are fighting. Some of them cannot eat good enough, some of them cannot sleep good enough, have a disease that you do not fight here, and that have a lot of dramatic impact there. So yes, there's this big imbalance. At the same time, I believe technology and digital is a positive way to close the gap way faster, taking less generation. It won't happen like this, but I'll give you an example. When I was in Cameroon, for example, so they had no good landlines for phones, okay? And so they skip the landlines, and now they all have cell phones, cheap cell phones, probably your former cell phone that you give to get refurbished. Then maybe it will move to Africa to make some other happily customer. But they skip one step because digitalization offered the opportunity of getting rid of the need of having those lines underground to connect everyone.
Infrastructure,
and
they even have like the internet over SMS there.
Yeah, exactly. They have internet, so it's slower, it's cheap. They use it less right now, but they have it already, which is crazy because they have internet, and at the same time, some of them cannot eat enough.
That's
so
right.
so it's there already. And if you look at the Arabian revolution that happened in the north of Africa, the digital impact was important. Those revolutions would not happen without it. So I think it will help to close the gaps. Again, I'm a positive guy, but I believe it's globally it's a very positive impact for human beings. Except that, of course, we need to focus more about the consumption of all this, because it's great to have servers everywhere, but it's about 1/10 of the human consumption of energy. So
okay, good. So I also think that having the internet is a good thing for having a global dialogue and also for overcoming at least some forms of censorship, which is also important, so that people also have access to information that they might not have if the technology would not exist. And also one important aspect that you touched multiple times now is this education. I want to briefly come back to that. So what would you say is the best form of this continuous education for the future? Would you say that MOOCs are, for instance, the tool to go for, or do you have something totally else in mind, like walking with your HoloLens through digital landscapes and learning by seeing sounds and hearing pictures or something like that?
So I'm a big fan of HoloLens, and when it came out, it was probably the biggest slap in my face from a technological point of view, except probably Batman Begins on an old 86 computer in the 80s, but whatever. And yes, those new technologies coming from digital will create a new world, which is quite crazy, because you can imagine that you live in a grey city, an ugly city, and you look at your window and you see the Mont Fuji, if you are a fan of Japan or whatever else great view that you love, the Eiffel Tower or whatever. So there's a lot of great part of it. At the same time, of course, this is not the real world. This is not the real world that we need to protect, which means those digital things are great. They are so appealing, and I'm the first fan of all those new things I love to try and so on. But at the same time, we still need to have our feet really connected on the ground, because without the real world, there will be no digital world. And so this is really important. So the gap that you mentioned with all those new generation coming from developing countries, it's very important that they have this feeling of the not the danger, but the sideways of things, of all the great things of digital. It's not the real world, which means they can embrace this digital world because it brings a lot of benefits, but at the same time we need to think that first we are human beings, we have a physical nature, and then without this, whatever digital incredible thing that we can create, whatever matrix we can invent, it won't last long. So this is really important. And about the MOOCs, I really believe this is one of the things that will help to fill the gap. Of course, if you can have a great teacher in the room, it's perfect and it's way better, and it's the top of the luxury to have great teachers. I had a chance in my life to have a lot of great teachers, and it helped me a lot to grow, to learn things, and to want to do more. because of the chance, when you have a chance of something that you want to give this chance back to others, and this is great.
But it just doesn't scale. So,
it doesn't scale that fast.
And plus, it's like, so the key problem of this educating the entire planet is that it must be distant learning, because
clear.
Or you would have to have a network of people that are educated everywhere, like the Catholic Church has, within the priests that have all some education, but we don't have it for science education at the moment, such a network, I would say. And therefore, I also think that this is a good way to go. And at the same time, I think we'll probably see some more learning technologies, and especially with this HoloLens and augmented reality or virtual reality, I think there's much more potential than is currently used for the learning environment. As we also discussed yesterday, saying like, okay, in a factory, when you have such an augmented vision, you can be more productive, or you can do trainings and stuff like that. And so I'm also looking forward to seeing that, because I think the key at the moment is the technology is just too expensive still, and so this is why not everybody has it. But like with the smartphones, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, everybody will have it, and then it will be much easier to use it.
I think the smartphone is the right example. 2007, the launch of the iPhone, it came broadly in millions hands 2-3 years later. HoloLens, I believe that mixed reality or whatever, I'd rather call it augmented reality. Augmented reality, when it will be shaped like this and shipped like this, maybe around 2030, and then it will bring on the first place, on the eyes of everyone, the potential of the digital world, with again the risk of do not forget that you have a real ground under your feet. But of course, then you'll have more and more opportunities to connect with others, see them next to you, even if they are in Australia, work with them remotely without any trouble, speak with a Chinese, you speak your language, you speak his language. So all those interconnection of human beings will be simpler than ever, and so again it will bring some incredible things, and then it will help to fill the gap and have everyone on board, with of course the big challenge of having everyone on board. For example, I would say my father do not believe in human impact on environmental change. And this is a big generation gap between him and me. So of course you have these gaps between me and people in Africa, and even more between a young boy right now in Africa that will have those augmented reality technologies tomorrow and his father. So how to get everyone on board? MOOCs may be the solution, but the big challenge is how to have those who were born before in the ship.
And very good points. And I think one thing that just came to my mind from what you said is also, what will be interesting when we have this mixed reality is that we have also mediated reality, in the sense that someone wrote an algorithm that shows you the things that you're currently getting in your augmented view. And this will be another responsibility, like referring also to what I said yesterday in the talk, to those people developing the algorithms. They again have to be aware of that they have this ethical responsibility to take care of what they implement there, because they will be the filter between what then the mass is consuming and what the reality is. And so I really think that this is a key. So how would you say, are you at the moment shaping this digital transformation?
There's two parts in my life, of course, the personal one and the professional one. And on the personal side of things, I always think about where should I raise my kids to give them the best understanding and the best chance to be happy tomorrow. Of course, there's some digital learning. So I'm playing Age of Empires with my kid, for example. Okay, this is not the best example, but anyway, this is a true one. But yeah,
this is how you bridge the generation gap.
I try to, but maybe I should play some other Fortnite or whatever with him. But I'm afraid I will spend too much time doing so anyway, and that it will be uncontrollable. But yeah, there's something that you need to help the new generation to understand the limits of what they are seeing. You know, it's in the internet, it's like on TV, it's not always true. What you read, what you see, what you discover, even if it's really appealing, attractive, looks incredible, it's not always the reality, and take care about that. And there's a learning about that which is not easy to share, because you are the old, the old dumb father or whatever. So this is one thing. And in the, I think in my professional life, I'm trying to share the great things, the positive use cases of new technology, because I believe as IT, I have a role to help the others of the companies I'm working for to live better on a daily basis, bringing tools to them that help them, which is IT is not always a problem. It can be a cure and something great.
And so your sharing is in spreading the knowledge about the technology so that more people are aware of it and can use it.
Yeah, but to make it work, of course, the first thing is to understand your user life, language, and then understand with your IT culture what your digital culture, what you can improve in his life. And some of them, of course, are afraid of this change. So if you do it with them, it's easier, but it takes some time. And in our big, fast-changing world, this is really important that we, with this digital knowledge, spend the right amount of time with those who do not have this culture to help them, for all of us to live together
to keeping them in the boat so that they are not getting left behind.
Because it's easy to be left behind.
And also this aspect of the this interrelation and communication with people that are not in computer science and informatics. This is also the reason why I started with informatics, because you have this dialogue and this is very important to fill it. And this is also sometimes a gap when you have these nerd-called people that are only technology. And so there, I think, is really the role of those people who are gifted like you to be able to talk to the others, to fill this role. So to really use the opportunity and communicate in a way that both worlds can somehow interconnect. Because it's like, it's really important having this communication role. Yeah, that's very good. So what would you say is the most positive effect of the digital transformation that you perceive?
A lot of things. It is life. So it's as simple as that. I want a Uber, I want whatever in my life. It's faster, it's easier. It's easy to be informed, because once you started to understand how to look for things on the internet, I'm not saying just Google something, but really understand the sources and what is right, what is wrong, look at different point of view. If you understand how to do it, it's not that difficult, and then you have access to a lot of knowledge so easily. You do not have to go to the library to find the right book, and they do not have the one that you may look for, but that's it. No, now it's more knowledge is more affordable than ever, and this is great. So it is life, and of course, when I see how it's again used to fight disease and solve a lot of technical problems that have a real impact, especially in Africa, for example, in the living of a lot of people. For example, 2 months ago I saw a connected fridge that was used to save vaccines and to be sure that the vaccine was always at the right temperature. So it's connected, of course, IoT, and it's great. This is some great thing for humanity. So I think it's not one simple thing. It's the fact that the global knowledge is shared and evolve faster than ever, because every year we have more students and researchers doing concrete things with concrete results that help humanity. So this is great, and I just would like to have this a little bit more oriented about our environment protection, because again, we live in an easy world, and it's so easy to forget that all this may be temporary. So it's important that we use this power, great responsibility again, to I won't say to save us now, but to have a sustainable future.
And I think also for that, having free access to the knowledge is also the key there, so that everybody can access it and use the knowledge. Cool. And on the other side, what would you say is the biggest risk that comes with the digital transformation? I mean, we talked already about that we could leave people behind. This is a risk. I mean, we can also elaborate on that. Or maybe introduce another aspect if you have an idea about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we talked already a lot about the fact that everyone needs to be in the ship, and this is critical today, not tomorrow, not in 10 years, today. The midterm risk, of course, it's Terminator, AI problems, and you mentioned ethics, and this is why it's so important and every brilliant minds believe of that. That at some level, when you'll have an AI which will be able at speed light to replicate itself and improve itself, then we're done. So how to have our humanity future assured while we will create some AI that will be self-conscious and self-improving at some point. I think after climate change, because this may happen just after climate change, the biggest issue that we face in front of us, this is the second biggest challenge of humanity. So yeah, this is for me this is the biggest risk, and it looks science fiction, but I believe it is not that much science fiction. It will come. So the question is how to handle it.
It's also not so far. Just a question came to my mind that I always wanted to also talk a little bit about, namely having this digital transformation arriving in all society. And in Germany, when we look at politics, I have the impression that even the current politician generation did still not arrive in the internet. And when I then read news about France, then I read, okay, Macron has an expert cabinet of young, bright minds. And so do you see a change from the previous government before Macron and then Macron, that the people are now, did already arrive in France in the digital age? Because I hope that this will happen in Germany also very soon, that the people will.
As always with politics, there's a lot of announcements and there's less things, but basically Macron tried to get rid of all the former politicians, even if he has been at its place with the help of a lot of politicians, but whatever. He tried to get rid of the former system when you had only politicians and try to have half people that are not politicians working in the parliament to take decisions, and also some politicians because they have their role to play. And so a lot of them, first, 50 of them are women, which is completely new and I think it's a great thing. And 50 of them are men, but you have also 50 people from all kind of companies, all kind of backgrounds. For example, one very famous man is a mathematician, Villani, and those guys have really a new point of view of things, and I think it really helps. Now there's still way too much politics instead of being pragmatic at facing problems. And I believe there's still so many problems that people are afraid to talk about, and then politicians do not take that with a transparent approach on the table to find some solutions. But I believe it's an improvement.
Cool.
And when you look at him popular as he is right now, then it means that he's somehow shaking things. So I believe it improves, but of course there's a huge margin going more into with the digital culture to bring this to everyone, but it's an improvement.
Because so for me it's really a key that the heads of the countries, which are these politicians, because they are the elected rulers of our countries, that they are aware of the technology and of all the potential that we're currently talking about. And this is why for me personally it's very good to hear that, and also with the 50% of women it's very good to have it. I mean, when I build teams, it's always obvious that it's a good thing. And so it's good that it's going in that direction. So that brings us already close to the end. So being human with algorithms. So what does that mean to you today, that you are a human and you're interacting with algorithms on a daily basis? Either you know that you interact with them or you do it indirectly, like in the opening talk where I showed the video where the Google Assistant is calling you and saying to you.
This is crazy. Human with algorithm. Of course, we have algorithms all over in our environment everywhere, driving a lot of things, deciding a lot of things for us. Deciding, for example, which content you will see on which web page, which directly impacts your thoughts and your own decision and so on. And it's important to know that it's just the very, 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 very beginning of this algorithm power and AI. So the key thing is really to understand that only a few people are writing those algorithms, and then everything what they show is not always the only truth that is available. And I think this is a key challenge because the more you have those algorithms deciding things for you, the harder it will be to take a step back and have a critical point of view on what these things are offering to you on so many aspects of your life. So it's very interesting to think about it. Watch Black Mirror and think about all the different episodes and how the algorithm are impacting the world. And of course, such a show is mostly about the risks, but it's interesting to think about it. It's just the beginning, the very beginning of all this.
Very nice end. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It was a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.